certified real.
Hey, I'm a little excited.
You heard it here first. Certified real. Everybody.
You are now listening to Real Talk Podcast.
This is certified.
Welcome back, Real Talk Family. It's your boy X and Tarell, the usual suspect. We're back with a movie trailer for the first time this season. We sat down and we got an opportunity to watch that new film that was dropped June 10th, Infinite, starring Mark Wahlberg, and a couple of other big names like, I don't want to screw up his name, Chiwetel, Ejiofor from 12 Years a Slave, Dylan O'Brien, and a couple other heavy hitters. It was directed by Terrell's favorite, Antonie Fuqua, written by Ian Shore, Todd Stein, from a book. It was an adaptation from a book written by D. Eric McCranzens. It's a sci-fi thriller. So let's dive straight into it. What was your initial thoughts?
Well, coming into it, I was expecting some top tier action sequences because you guys know Antoine Fuqua. He dropped Training Day, The Equalizer, Magnificent Seven, Olympus Has Fallen. So he has quite a good amount of experience in this genre itself. Just kind of taking in that whole idea in the film, the whole idea of the reincarnation and just having an infinite life. Basically, I thought it was a cool concept. And just watching it from start to finish, I felt like there could have been things done a little better. It wasn't something that, really had me up on the edge of my seat. I did like some of the action sequences. I won't say everything was completely off. The acting was, was solid for, it being an action thriller, but yeah, that was just my initial thoughts at first. What about you?
I'm kind of on the same plan. I feel like it was a dope idea. Because we've seen other films that came out like Old Guard, like where you come back, like you really can't die, so to say. So I think the idea is dope, and we're seeing, more people explore that and making films about that. I think there wasn't enough action. So we had action at the beginning with the car chase, and you had action at the end, flying, jumping on a plane with the motorcycle. And then you had like smaller, like little fight battles. And I felt like they were decent enough, but I just felt like for what we was getting information wise, the action didn't match up, right? So we was getting a lot of information, a lot of story, a lot of dialogue, like them telling us the story in dialogue. And I just felt that it could have been way more action. That was really the biggest thing for me was that voiceover of just slow down and smacked us with some voiceover, and then a lot of explaining. And I think that it bothered me because the idea like of reincarnation is not foreign, right? Like we all know or have a good idea of what it is. We don't need you to over explain reincarnation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of directors do that. I know a couple of, Martin Scorsese films. He has little voiceovers that go on in the film. Sometimes it works. Like I won't, completely blow off the idea. Yeah, but I feel like in this, since it's an action thriller, you should have took advantage of the fact that it was action thriller, just
right.
more visual elements.
Like the movie is like 2 hours long, right?
Yeah.
They could have simply, instead of doing that extra stuff that they did do, like with the storytelling or narration, or them telling us the story through dialogue, they could have just showed us his flashbacks, right? Like go more into detail of the flashbacks, and then we can catch an idea of what the story is or what the message is or whatever the case may be through those flashbacks. Because they kind of did like little flashbacks, but they didn't go into detail, like just show like little glimpse of a memory or something like that. But they could have just gave us, it doesn't have to be 5 minutes, but maybe like 30 seconds to a minute of, you know, one of his past lives. Like kind of like what they did at the end when he went into the young kid and they showed them, you know, fighting with the swords, and it had a whole, they could have did something like that with their flashbacks. And I just would have felt that would have been like 10 times better than what they did deliver us so far.
Right. Yo, what did you think of that scene during I don't know if this kind of threw me off. The scene where they were in the beginning with the interrogation between Bathurst and Treadway. I'm gonna just say that, use that as their names. And you know, he laid out the tools on the table. He was like, okay, is this one yours? Every time you say I don't know, I'm gonna shoot you, right? I don't know, the way that the chick, you know, drove the car into that room, it didn't look right, because it was like, I don't know, maybe it just wasn't sudden enough. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then this nigga had a truck that was ready and parked already to like
right where she came in through, right? Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
So and I think that's a part of the holes in the story, right? I think that was like, I think they just was shooting for like some fantastic way to introduce her character to us, and that was like, you know, just a way that they thought of it. It was different for me because I knew that I had a feeling that he wasn't gonna kill him, because he's obviously there. He obviously needs something from him. Why would you kill a person that you need something from, right? So I kind of knew that was like a tactic that he was doing. But I do agree, it did feel like prepared, like rehearsed, like they knew what, like he knew that she was coming and he was prepared for it in a way. So it definitely did feel like that. They kind of shed light on like disabilities in the film, right? Like he was diagnosed schizophrenic, and then there was another character, Garrett, the lady who's really smart in the office. She had a disability. So what was your thoughts on the fact that they kind of implemented that into the story? Do you think it worked? Was it needed? Was it not needed?
I think it was a cool way to, you know, for the main character to be schizophrenic, you know, when in actuality, I don't think he was schizophrenic. It was just, he was just having those flashbacks because he's an infant, right? So I thought that was a clever way to kind of bring that in. So I thought that kind of tied into this thematic, you know, thing where it's like, oh, you're just because you have a, you know, disability or whatever, it doesn't mean you're crazy. It actually means you have potential to do more than what everyone else says that you're capable of. That's why I thought that they threw that in there.
Right.
And then the little message at the end that Mark Wahlberg was saying, how if you every decision you make will impact your future or whatever, and you're able to build upon, you know, what you believe in. I forgot the exact words, but it was something along the lines of that kind of theme. So.
Yeah. It took us like an hour into the film for him to finally realize that, oh, he's Treadway and get his memories back, right? And the whole entire time they kept putting this emphasis on his pills. Remember, he like had a whole fight scene about the pills, right? And that's how he gets caught and goes to the police, was over those pills. So, you know, I guess the filmmaker in me was saying like if he would just stop taking those pills, maybe it's the pills that's kind of like slowing him down to realizing who he actually is, right? Maybe because it's a man-made pill that's supposed to cure his condition that he don't really have. You know what I'm saying? That he doesn't really have that condition. And I'm thinking maybe these pills is the reason why it's making him difficult to do that. And I just felt like that was a beautiful gem that they kind of dropped the ball on, that they could have used. And he could have like stopped taking it 40 minutes into the film and then gave us more action, more fighting, and more like, oh, I'm Treadway now. So let's get it popping and get into this action and stop this bad guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, how did you feel about that?
I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that kind of ties into the theme too. It's like every time someone is like, say if someone doesn't act a certain way or behave a certain way, it's like, okay, something's wrong with them. Let's give them medication. So that was dope. And I do agree with you. Yeah, they could have easily, like, I don't know, 40 minutes into the film, maybe 35, like have them stop taking the pills and maybe that'll be what kind of gets him to realize who he is a lot quicker, and then realize what his goal is a lot quicker. Because with that, because him recognizing that he's Treadway, then he's like, okay, here's the egg. Oh, by the way, look inside. So that that all ties in. That I think they kind of hinted at the whole drowning thing when Bathurst was on the table and they was kind of waterboarding him, whatever you want to call it, with the rag over his face. That was a part I was confused about at first. I'm like, what the hell?
What was the point of it, right? Like he was like punishing himself or something like that.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that was maybe he was still trying to remember certain. I don't know if that was part of the process, but.
So like you just mentioned Bathurst. Let's talk about that character, because I thought the character was dope. I think in certain instances he kind of like overacted his like crazy in a way. But I thought he was a perfect bad guy, like Chiwetel. I don't want to butcher his
Chiwetel.
I don't want to butcher his name, but I feel like he played a great antagonist in this particular film. The only thing that I didn't like is that in Old Guard, he played kind of that same kind of character in a way. Have you seen Old Guard on Netflix?
Yeah.
Kind of has that kind of feel to it. So I think that's what gets me a little upset. I felt like this film was like released a year too short, so to say. I felt like this should have been a film released before Old Guard, or the case may be, because it kind of has that same like storyline, that same kind of feel to it. But what do you think about his character? I thought they developed it well. They developed it so well that I actually wouldn't mind seeing a film based on his life and what he's been through, to understand why he feels the way he feels. What was your thoughts on it?
It was an interesting story. Like it's basically the opposite of everyone else. He's like, and then he puts up a good point though. Everyone's saying, oh, the whole purpose behind being born again is so that you can, build upon everything that happened in the past so that we can move forward with humanity and build a better humanity. But he's saying, listen, I want to see what God looks like in the face. Like the whole point of life isn't to keep living. It's supposed to, there's a beginning and there's an end. Like this shit is crazy. Like, why would you want to live forever?
Right.
Like that just makes life itself invaluable and pointless. Like it's so them infusing that mindset into his character and the aggressiveness behind everything he did, trying to find the egg, trying to put the device on the plane and just do what he had to do. It was a great character. And I would like to see a solo movie. Obviously they might not do it, but that'd be kind of like an interesting thing to see, like, what caused him to get to that point, because they mentioned that him and Treadway they was close friends. Yeah. And then over time, I guess he was like, okay,
he just got sour. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is how most villains, the good villains that we like to watch, that's usually how it ends up. But it's interesting because we mentioned the egg a few times already. And this egg was just something that was going to take out the whole world, right? And he was putting it in a bomb so it can get to everybody, right? And I thought it was interesting because they hinted towards it in the film also. But that conversation of like what came first, the egg or the chicken? And I kind of felt like they kind of touched that a little bit with it being in the shape of an egg. You know what I'm saying? So I think the egg came first or came second, and then the egg is what's going to end everything, right? So it started from an egg, or in his point of view, maybe is it started from an egg, so the egg is what's going to end it. I kind of feel like that's what they was hinting towards, the actual device being an egg and calling it an egg. And there's another thing that I had to pick a bone with was when Mark Wahlberg's character was getting drowned, right? And then we had Bathurst watching them get drowned. I felt like at that point, why did Bathurst go to kill them? You know what I'm saying? Like I felt like
that's what threw me off. I'm like, couldn't you just go and get the egg?
Yeah, go, because that's what he did. He ended up going. The very next scene, he was cutting the old body up and got the egg. Why did he send them in there and let them know? You know what I'm saying? Like maybe was it to slow them down? I don't know, but it just seems like I got what I want. now I'm about to go do what I want with it. I don't even care about them anymore because I got what I want. Because the whole movie he was chasing Treadway because he needed the egg. He got the egg. Why is he still chasing? Why is he still fighting? So it made me feel like they just wanted to set up that one fight scene of him and then the older dude with the axe. It just didn't make sense to me of that point. And did you feel the same way about it?
What I was gonna say was maybe he wanted to go in and with his dethroner and shoot them all, but I'm like, well, if you get the egg, you can just kill everybody. So
it was
kind
like
of pointless. Right? Did you have suspicions that Artisan was maybe working with Bathurst in a way?
I didn't have. I mean, that scene with the camera in it, it gave me that feel that maybe they work together, which I think that's poor writing in a way because if you making me feel that way, but you don't like do anything off of it because at the end now he's the one leading and finding them and trying to bring everybody together, right? So and I think that's kind of like what I meant, where they kind of invested us too much in these characters, right? Like who is the story about? That's what I want to know, and then have these other characters be supporting characters, right? Because we invested in Mora's story, right? Because we all like, man, I hope she gets back to her love and stuff like that. We invested in Artisan's story because he has a lot of lines and he's talking and he's kind of like that comic relief in a way. We invested in Bathurst, of course. We invested in the Kovics dude. That's the one with the axe. He had the axe and he was fighting. He fought Bathurst and he went in there. So it just kind of confused a little bit on what was going on. Artisan's character was more so like he wasn't on either side, right? Like he was his own, doing his own thing, living his own life and enjoying it. And then Bathurst's idea of destroying the world kind of forced him to choose a side. And obviously he wants to continue to live, so he's not going to choose the later, which is what I kind of think that really was, if that makes sense.
Right. Do you think that there's potential to be like a sequel or something like that?
I don't think that there should be a sequel of this story, right? Of the Treadwell story. I think this is a perfect way to switch it into one of those things where we're gonna get Infinite 2, but it's gonna be about a different character's story, right? Like we got the Treadway story. Now let's get the Bathurst story. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was the action sequence and the graphics and the, and the CGI or the, how it was created. I thought it was interesting, and I needed them to do more of that. Right? I feel like there should have been more, car chases or whatever the case may be, because Bathurst had hundreds of years of wealth, hundreds of years of resources that I felt like it could have just been more involved. And he could have, and I felt like they should have took an approach where he was like really hunting him down. You know what I'm saying? But I like that. At the same time, I did like that it was personal. So like every time they went to hunt him down, he was the one there. Like he was doing it. Like he was trying to get him. So I did enjoy that. So what do you think about that aspect of it?
Yeah, I thought the CGI was dope. Everything with like the car chase was good. And this just came to mind when you were talking about him chasing them and all that stuff. So that part where he was like, I guess this was during the car chase, and then towards the end, he was like realizing that he had like some extra power that he could like.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a little cool, little element to it. It added like a different level of action, but I mean, I wish I could have saw more of that. Yeah. I wish I could have saw more of that because he had the sword, and he was out there. I like the action sequence when he was riding like I think the motorcycle off the cliff, and he landed on the wing of the plane, and then the motorcycle hit the
engine,
like the whatever the motor. I don't know what you call it. The engine. The engine, yeah, that shit was cool. So I mean.
He was like a little Jedi. He was like a little Jedi, low key. But that's what they were saying, that he lived so long with all of this knowledge and all this information. He found the way to be able to to like move things whether it's the wind or whatever the case may be, he was able to do that. He learned to be able to do that. Because he did it, like you said, in the car scene at the beginning, he did it. And I agree with you. I was kind of upset about that too, because you hint that this movie is going to be action packed, and now you added this extra element of he's able to move things with his hands or whatever the case may be. But then again, you don't. There's an hour and a half go by, and you don't show any of that or see any of that to the very end, and then the movie goes off.
It's like they hooked. I didn't mean to cut you off. It's like they hooked us in, and then it was like, y'all ain't going nowhere. Y'all can wait a couple hours.
Y'all sitting here now. Y'all gonna watch whatever we give you, right? That is how it feels. So let's go ahead and rate the film. What was your thoughts? So what are you thinking?
I'm thinking I'll give it a good watch. I'll give it a good watch because there was still, there's potential for it to be a people's choice and a certified, like there's potential for it to grow, like you said, with the dialogue and the consistency of action, just the stories behind the characters, there's a lot of interesting gems in there, and that's why I gave it a good watch. And the reason I didn't give it a dud or anything lower than that, I felt like it wasn't that bad. It wasn't like, okay, this is bullshit. And yeah, there's just a lot of it is just simple improvements with the writing and some of the action sequences, and it'll be straight.
All right, so I'm gonna give it a dud. Right? I'm gonna give it a dud because of pretty much what you're saying. I just was looking at it differently. So I'm gonna give it a dub because you had this nice cast. Mark Wahlberg, and like I said, I don't want to butcher his name, but Bathurst, Chiwetel. They can carry films. They're great actors on the screen. And I felt like they have everything that they needed to make a great film, and they didn't do it. I think, and then on top of that, we paid for Paramount because you can only see this film on Paramount right now. So we did pay to get Paramount, and this is the product that we got. We solely got Paramount off the strength of to see this film, right? Before we even knew all of the other great things they had, like all the Nickelodeon, all that stuff that's on there, Rugrats, etc. Hey Arnold, all of that's on there too. So it's not going to be a complete waste of funds, but we did get Paramount to see this film. So based on that, right? Also based on that, based on the story potential, because I felt like if this was a film to give us information to set up other films, I don't think they did a good job at that. If this was a film to be action, like they don't have no plans, like they just wanted to hit us with a good story and some actions, I also felt like they didn't do that well either. And then based off, Antoine Fuqua's past work, we know he can deliver. You know what I'm saying? And giving him the actors that he had, the storyline that he had, I just felt like it could have been a little bit better. So it's like at the top of a dud. Like maybe change one of those things that we discussed, then it would be a good watch. But I think just as it is right now, I would give it a dud. But like I do recommend people go see it because I think it's worth. If you have it Paramount already, say you already have Paramount, I think it's worth watching it. If you don't have Paramount, then I don't think it's worth you getting it to watch it like we did. Appreciate the conversation. It was dope. Definitely recommend. Appreciate the audience for tuning in and watching it. And that's the show.
Certified real.
Hey, I'm a little excited.
You heard it here first. Certified real. Everybody.
You are now listening to Real Talk Podcast.
This is certified